Iranian film Holy Spider was released on movie this weekend after a brief cinematic release earlier in the year. It's the latest of often excellent Iranian new wave cinema movies to make it over here, and it's an element of cinema that deserves your attention if you haven't explored it as yet. From just excellently made movies like Asghar Farhadi's A Hero to protest movies like 2011's This Is Not a Film, made by banned filmmaker Jafar Panhari, who had to smuggle it out of the country on a flash drive and continues to produce against the oppressive government's wishes. It's a fascinating mix of quality cinema and people-led protest true art, where the backstory of the projects involved are often as fascinating as the projects themselves. Based on a true story, Holy Spider follows female journalist Rahimi, played by Zahra Mir Ebrahimi, who won Best Actress at Cannes for her performance, as she investigates a series of murders on prostitutes and finds herself predictably facing wider barriers in the investigation itself. It's a film about institutions. Holy Spider takes time to show empathy for the murderer itself. Not to say that it ever paints what the murderer is doing as acceptable or lets him off the hook, but it's much scarier, I think, to show how an institution can then create and protect murderers from people who may have gone a different direction than to just show one disturbed madman gone rogue. There's no mystery about who the killer is. We meet Mehdi Bajestani's unapologetic Saeed early into the movie, and he speaks quite openly at times about feeling the need to cleanse the streets of corrupted women, as we learn how this stems from a kind of survivor's guilt from his army days, along with the feeling of inadequacies as a father and husband. And Saeed, by the way, is actually a true character, and this is where the trueness of the story comes from. So this isn't a whodunit. It's more an inversion of the typical serial killer plot, in that the tension is built around the improbability of a female reporter trying to force the system to care about a not particularly sophisticated, openly known murderer or prostitute, rather than a twisted, deranged sicko trying to get away with it. If anything, Saeed is represented here as the status quo, while Rahimi is the disruptor. At one stage, a murdered character's mother asks of the police, he's cleaning up the streets for them. Do you think they're actually trying to catch them? We see the microaggressions that Rahimi has to deal with every day, like being refused a hotel room because she's unmarried until she can prove she's a journalist, and even then, she's still told by the hotel porter to cover her hair. Having to deal with creepy advances of a police officer just to get information. These are all normalized. Well, she has to work twice as hard to simply get journalists or the justice system to even pay attention to the murders at all, and no matter how well her investigation progresses, is convinced that it's all about to conveniently fall apart thanks to bitter experience of the past. This is a story that on the face of it seems heavily Iran focused, but actually has resonance all across the world as we get used to public opinion trying to normalize what would have been once considered unacceptable. On the face of it, the murder of 16 prostitutes seems open and shut, and Saeed isn't trying to defend himself or deny the charges. However, Rahimi remains resolute that the system will find a way to abide it with mass public support coming out for the killer, which again is another true aspect of this story. And it's another illustration of a culture war's battleground we've become used to seeing these days. Written and directed by Ali Abbasi, Holy Spider is masterful at making these heightened concepts that kind of lurk underneath the system real and obvious, but also frustrating as they should feel in real time. Amir Ebrahimi and Bajestani are sizzling in the lead role, Saeed in a stoic refusal to even posit the possibility that he's actually done anything wrong, and Rahimi steely and determined enough to believably follow the lead through to completion while vocalizing the struggles she faces without also ever seeming preachy or performative along the way. It's a masterstroke of acting control and balance. I also found Saeed's family absolutely harrowing. Mesbah Talib as his son Ali is incredible at reacting to his father's mood swings, and then in his reactions as he begins to discover the kind of person his father really is and tries to accommodate that into his own life and moral makeup. Holy Spider is excellent, another triumph for an Iranian cinema industry that deserves to be amplified, not only because of how effectively it shows the world what its people are dealing with during a period of extraordinary tumult, but also just because they're great movies that you should be watching anyway.